What's going on, guys? This is Waylon Martin with Bodybuilding.News bringing another weekend wrap up. This weekend's competition brings us to Sacramento, California for the Golden State Grand Prix, a men's open bodybuilding event. As we near the Olympia, these tier of contests are getting more and more competitive, even though they're not necessarily a bigger name such as the New York Pro or an Arnold. This is because guys are trying to get their last minute qualification. And so names such as Compton that weren't able to seal the deal a little bit earlier in the year are able to do so at competitions such as this, but they're bringing it. Victor, another example of this. Compton won this competition rather handedly, and it was really a battle for second place for most competitors. With such high expectations from Justin at a competition such as the Arnold, it was very hard for him to rise to the occasion at that event. However, he did so at this contest, and actually all the small critiques that he took from the Arnold, he was able to apply to his physique here and looked markedly improved from that showing. But this was an easy win for Compton, who had a great physique at this show and was lights out from the moment he got on stage. Well, some individuals were able to get into Compton's realm as far as caliber physique in certain poses. No one beat him across the board. And in each and every shot, he won the pose. And though there was maybe someone that was in contention with him, they would significantly be behind him in another pose. So Compton was easily the most put together bodybuilder at this show. And that's really what handed him the victory here. There's no one thing that made him stand out, because a lot of the guys were conditioned. A lot of the guys had freaky muscle. A lot of the guys had a lot of positive things going for them. But Compton had every facet in check going for him. Not only did he have the genetics and the just mass that he needed, but things like conditioning, color, etc. were all on point at this contest. His presentation even markedly improved. So this win was very deserved for Compton. Compton was able to win this contest very handedly because there was no one in his tier. Quite frankly, there was a lot of good guys who have the potential. Kevin Jordan, for example, definitely challenged him in some shots. Michael Lockett definitely challenged him in some shots. But Compton was the most complete and total bodybuilder at this contest and brought the best total package, which is why he left with the championship and Olympia qualification. He seemed to take all those lessons from the Arnold and listen to some of the critiques and apply them to his physique here, bringing up the right areas and bringing down areas that needed to go down, such as his waist, for example. So he got back that classic taper that so many like him for, and really just the overall look to his physique. Compton's a great example of what happens when everything on physique is brought together perfectly, and things that were in his control, such as condition, tanning, presentation, were all in check. The fact is, even in these poses where guys are challenging him a little bit, he's still in general winning the pose. It just shows potential vulnerability at a higher level, and that's what we're looking at when you're talking about a guy like Compton. We have to think of him out of respect in that higher tier, because that's definitely where he's headed. Again, he's going to be in that lane with Dallas McCarver, challenging for an Arnold type event at this point, maybe a New York Pro, another contest that he could do very well at this point in his career, and would definitely move him up the ranks. This was signature Justin Compton. There's no other way to describe it. Signature conditioning, signature presentation, signature tan, everything he brought together was great. If there's anything to knock at this contest, it's hard too, because there's no glaring flaws with his physique. There's nothing glaringly wrong. We're going to literally have to see him against these top tier competition guys such as a Phil Heath, even a Dallas McCarver. Dallas McCarver, that's going to be a very interesting matchup as these two continue to progress, because they seem friendly with each other. They both seem like nice guys, but they're biting at the bit right now and neck with each other going up these ranks. So it's going to be interesting to see who fares better at this year's Olympia. Michael Lockett came in second place, and though Michael looked very good here, things were off. And I think it was not just things were off with Michael, he also got exposed. So I've said in previous videos that we saw the best conditioning we've seen on Michael Lockett. This was the best conditioning we've seen on Michael Lockett. If there's one knock though, I think it might be too much. By too conditioned, what I mean is his glutes could not have been drier or grainier. He brought his freaky density that is so unique, and he brought it to even another level. What I think this did, however, was it exposed exposed some of his flaws in his physique. Some of the attachments, for example, the lats looked a little bit flat compared to a guy such as Compton. This is because things like his leg, for example, which I previously have stated aren't that big of an issue, again become glaringly obvious. And though he compensates well for it in poses such as the side shots, where he has a ton of mass, for example, there's also shots like the overhead ab shot, where next to a guy like a Justin Compton, it just gets exposed. Big critique at this contest is the gynecomastia. I honestly don't feel it should affect placings, and it doesn't really affect placings. That wasn't going to make or break his placing at this contest. However, when you're a professional, it's a facet of professionalism is your presentation, and that's one detail that's in his control that he doesn't have in check. And how you do anything is how you do everything, so I have to wonder how this gets reflected in other facets of his life that we've seen sometimes come with Michael Lockett. It's a lot of baggage that comes with that show. However, what he brings to the stage is amazing. Third place finisher, Kevin Jordan. Kevin looked phenomenal at this show. Arguably, he could have been the second place finisher. And though in the prejudging, it looked like they were going to put him in the fourth place spot, he was able to be bumped up into that third place position. Originally, Canadian Ronaldo GAIRY was in the comparison with Lockett. And it looked like those two were battling for the second and third place spot. And deservedly, because Ronaldo looked great. However, Kevin Jordan was able to jump him in his placing here at the night show, and deservedly so, as he could have been in second place just as easily as he could have been in fourth place. These guys were really in a battle for second as Compton sealed the deal so much here, but Kevin had a great showing at this contest nonetheless. Arguably, Kevin was the most complete bodybuilder second to Compton at this event, as he has all the tools. It's just a matter of little tweaks that are going to elevate him to this next level. He's another one of these guys that's been consistently placing at this tier of show, but unlike Lockett, I think he has much more potential to jump into that winning of these type of events, and maybe even being more of a threat at, say, an event such as an Arnold, for example. Kevin has continued to climb up the ranks from amateur to professional, and potentially is going to be competing for an Olympia title someday in the near future. As I previously mentioned, in the front double bicep, for example, he's the only guy who can really hang with Compton, and with some tweaks in his other poses, he will be a much bigger threat at any contest he enters. In fourth place, Ronaldo GAIRY. Based off of prejudging, many thought he was going to end up in third place because they were comparing him with Michael Lockett after removing Justin Compton from the lineup. He ultimately got bumped behind Kevin Jordan. Ronaldo has some fantastic shots, however. His back shots, back double, for example, has an awesome pop to it. His detail in some of his front shots when he's in a pose and holding it looks fantastic. His core very tight, detailed, separated, striated, all that good stuff. He looked fantastic. Also, bulbous quads, a very aesthetic physique. Though it wasn't enough to win him a title here, a very respectable showing nonetheless. Fifth place, Josh Wade. This was a really interesting one here. Josh just recently turned pro and was not on many people's radar for this competition. I had noticed him mostly because I thought he looked like Dorian Yates when John Meadows posted about him. But astoundingly, he looks a lot like Dorian Yates, and though he doesn't have that type of mass yet, he has a very similar physique and look in general to him. And a great physique nonetheless. Dorian comments aside, this guy is a fantastic bodybuilder as he demonstrated at this contest. The guy had stellar conditioning, awesome muscle development, great attachments and insertions, and a very good general look to his physique. A powerful front double, good lat spread, all that stuff. If there's one knock, it's that the guy has a white guy physique. And while a guy like Compton is unique in that he still manages to have that bulbous muscle, a guy like Josh lacks that. And he still has a ton of pop to his physique, but when you're looking at these Olympic qualified type guys, it's another level. And I'm not saying he can't reach that still, because based off of this, we don't know where he's headed. However, it's off to a very good start for a rookie debut as a professional, especially when you've qualified within that same contest season. Back shots were amazing, striated glutes, very dry. Him and John did a great job this season getting him ready, and he shocked a lot of people. Real quick, we're just gonna do an honorable mention, and that goes to Dan Decker. Dan looked fantastic at this contest, and he was another one of those guys that brought his personal best, but just doesn't have the genetics and whatnot to compete with this tier of guys. Now, if there's someone to knock for this contest, and it's not out of disrespect, it would have to be Brendan Curry. Brendan clearly thought he was going to be able to coast into this show, and that's not even necessarily untrue. It was just because as we're getting closer to the season, you have some of these bigger names showing up, he wasn't able to do so, and he got a strike against him for it. This is because Brendan has phenomenal taper, great pop, etc. to the muscle, and oddly has similar type of aesthetic to Compton, that narrow waist with the popping lats and good full arms, etc. However, without the condition, he can't even get compared. You shouldn't be mad with Curry, but maybe a little disappointed because we know he's better than this. So guys, that's everything from Sacramento. Be sure to check out our Facebook, YouTube, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Waylon Martin with Bodybuilding.News.